The current controversy around critical race theory is both rich and nonsensical. The only path to defeating racial bias and disparities is to study not only individual decision making, but also the laws and structures and policies that enable racism and racist outcomes. In 1995, when I began my law studies at Georgetown University Law Center, I was specifically trained in critical race theory. In my first year section, it was not widely controversial then. In fact, it was only controversial in that section and amongst some law geeks. The banning of the study of critical race theory would prohibit us from learning the reasons that we're the most incarcerated country in the world, from learning the history of policing and as an outgrowth from slavery, the constructs that enable disparities in criminal justice, housing, banking, and healthcare would not be taught. Learning these truths is a must for Americans if we intend to end those disparities. How do we talk about Tyree Nichols without talking about the history of policing? How do we talk about the current wealth gap between Black Americans and white Americans without talking about heirs property, Black Wall Street and its violent destruction, and the changing definition of property over time? How do we talk about violence in the Black community without talking about the history of violence we have endured as a people enslaved? Bryan Stevenson's accounting of the thousands of men and women and children lynched after slavery and the terrorism that we've experienced at the hands of mobs. How do we talk about racial disparities in medicine without talking about the Tuskegee experiment, Hottentot, and all of the extensive experimentation and brutalization of our bodies by doctors since slavery? Simply put, we cannot.